So I sent you a meme earlier, and it said you can't smoke weed in women's sports, but you can have a penis. Let's talk about it. There's a 43-year-old person who is transitioned, and first of all, I don't know anyone that's 43 that's competed in the Olympics. Maybe you do. So I don't know if anyone. Right. I've never heard of somebody in their 40s, and they are competing in women's powerlifting, and are apparently crushing it, knocking it out of the park. Are we in a bizarre place where women can't? You talking about in women's sports, weed gets you banned, but someone with their male genitalia can compete as a woman. Like, what is happening?
I mean, and that goes for, we can expand that throughout society. Mm-hmm. Obviously there's some bizarre stuff happening.
Yeah.
The state of Connecticut, I know there's some female sprinters, high school, who have sued because they let 2 biological males mm-hmm. who claim they're females compete with high school girls in track and field, and records that it stood for years, decades. They broke dozens of them in months. Yeah, it's just like, let's face it, folks. The differences between male and female are vast.
Right.
Vast.
Right.
Racial differences are nothing.
Yeah.
Compared to biological difference between male and female.
Absolutely.
And there was the UFC fighter.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Who's a male fighting as a female and mm-hmm. destroying women.
Yeah.
And one female did end up beating him, but I guess he was winning based on just his raw strength, and he wasn't that skilled, and you got a skilled mm-hmm. woman in there who actually was able to beat him. But it's just this is I don't think it's fair to biological females. Yes. Which is the ironic thing, is that feminists are at odds with this.
Yeah.
It's not even about.
Caitlyn Jenner's at odds with it. Like Caitlyn Jenner was like, yo, this ain't fair.
Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner, he was an awesome male Olympian. Yeah. What in the world would he have done competing against women? Yeah. So unfortunately, someone's going to get hurt badly.
Yeah.
For people to recognize the issue, and I just think, look, it's just it's not fair to women.
Yeah.
It isn't. There was Serena Williams is the greatest female tennis player probably ever. She mm-hmm. said it herself. She couldn't compete with the top few hundred men.
Wow.
So if we're going to start allowing men to compete in women's sports, that's going to hurt female athletes.
Yeah.
And we just have to accept it and not be about let's just be politically correct. Let's just, run away from the truth. Yeah. No, it's not fair to women, and it's going to hurt women. And so, my daughters were athletes in high school. They played field hockey, but I would not have wanted them competing against men in that. And, do you think if it's more of a contact sport?
Do you think it's eventually folks are gonna come around? Like Jesus said, wisdom will be proven right by her children, right? So I think there's certain things that is just like, man, that is so loony. Like, give this 5 years. I promise you're not gonna feel this way 5 years from now. Do you think that folks will come around and finally be like, yeah, like especially if you've gone through puberty, full on, and then you decide to transition, go compete against other athletes.
Right. You probably need to make another category.
And it's
interesting because transgender people will say, well, you're making us feel different. Well, you are different. Let's just keep it real. You're different. Yeah. Black people are different. White people are different. Males are different. Females are different. This is a different situation.
Yeah.
And so, I think even, So I just think that you may have to try to form some other groups for them to compete against one another in fairness. But to answer your question, I hope you're right. And I know I've heard, again, people think, oh, you're a Christian, you feel that way. First of all, it's not just that. A lot of people of faith will feel this way. But forget faith. I've heard liberals, progressives, who aren't religious say, like biological evolutionary biologists say, this is lunacy.
Yeah.
And most people know it, but they're afraid to come out and say something about it. They're saying most people in academia, most people in science know this. They're afraid to come out and say it because of the peer pressure, essentially. And now, and look, to me, it's a spiritual stronghold.
Yeah.
And you say, can a society go so far, or will they eventually recognize this is nuts? Yeah, a society can go that far.
Yeah.
And a spiritual stronghold. I mean, if we look back in history, we see all types of things we would consider madness. I mean, in Rome, it's even in the scripture, pederasty, you know, which is like pedophilia, was a part of society. Some disagreed, but a lot of people, it was accepted.
Wow.
In this very country, we're talking about reparations. I mean, the notion that black people or people because of the color of their skin were 3/5 of a human being, did not have souls.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that was a spiritual stronghold.
Yep.
That clouded people's vision and the way they looked at reality. And so, yeah, when people, it's like the scriptures say, when people turn away from God, then they can be given over to all types of spiritual deception. And I think that's what we're facing.
Yeah, it reminds me of the passage in Ephesians where it talks about we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. I like the way you put that, because I think it's a spiritual blindness over this specific issue. And then there's like this weird recoil and these consequences. So I think it's really interesting you put it that way. Okay, last sports
and
question.
I think, Ruslan, on that, a lot of the people that are pushing these things, I don't think they necessarily mean harm. I think some may, but some think this is really what's best. But like I said, it's spiritual deception.
Yeah.
Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
Hey, thank you so much for making it till the end of this video. If you found it valuable, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. You can check out one of the other videos related to this that'll be over here. Now, I gotta tell you about a free training I have for anyone that is an entrepreneur, a creative, an artist, but maybe you are unsure on how to find your voice, how to find your niche. I have a free training in the description of this video. Check it out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next video.